Hello, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and get started so that we can use the most of our time. Welcome to GEG Kentucky's first ever Googlepalooza. The purpose of this event is to give educators here in Kentucky the opportunity to share innovative and productive uses of any and all Google Workspace tools. Our goal is that you will learn something new from all 12 of our presenters today, so that you can use these tips, tricks, they might be templates, in your classroom this upcoming school year. Each presenter will showcase their Google Workspace tool for about 5 to 10 minutes, and then also be able to answer any questions you might have about what they've shared. We are able to provide a PD certificate for you, whether you attend, one 10-minute session all the way up to, if you stick with us, all 2 hours. I'm going to go ahead and throw that in the chat. And then I'll also continue to throw that in the chat periodically as people come in. And so make sure you fill that out if you would like to receive PD credit today. And we will send you that automatic certificate within the week. Also, make sure that if you're completing that certificate that you are typing in your email address correctly, because that's how it pulls the data and knows where to send the certificate. So there's that form there within there. And I do want to go ahead and pre-thank all of our presenters today. So these 12 awesome individuals are here with us this Saturday morning. They, have a passion for using technology and specifically Google Workspace tools in their classroom. And they've, been able to share that with us. And so we really appreciate their time this morning. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with our first presenter. Our first presenter this morning is Miss Jessica Prater. She comes to us from Magoffin County. I think I said that right. And she is the assistant principal as well as the digital learning coach there in her district. And she's going to share with us a little bit about using Google to streamline. So Jessica, go ahead and take it away.
Okay, good morning, and it's lovely to see everybody bright and early on a Saturday. I'm not sure if I can squeeze all of this information in 10 minutes, but I'll sure try. I had flipped my classroom and was using Google pre-pandemic, so I was kind of on board and very passionate about that and sharing that with others before I became an administrator. So when we got to choosing digital learning coaches for our district, I was asked to continue doing activities like that and to continue that role of mainly offering support, especially for our new teachers. We are bad to assume that they are the people that know all of this stuff because they've learned it and because they're younger. But utilizing it in a classroom is very different. So when I did make the switch to administration, I wanted to make sure that I continued to kind of practice what I preached. I wanted to, if I used it, they would use it. And having my teachers use this as students, which is pretty much what I did, gave them so much information and so much insight when it came to actually assisting their students. If I have the ability to present, I'm not really sure, but I'm going to try to present my screen here. And I'm having some trouble getting that done, but I wanted to show you guys the quickest way that I have found to actually use my hang on just a second. I'm kind of playing with my system preferences, but I'll talk while I'm doing this. I wanted to use Google Classroom to facilitate most of the things that I do as an assistant principal. Some of the roles that I have is I take care of a lot of our paper management. And I think the reason that I kind of got volunteered for those jobs as an assistant principal was the fact that I was able to streamline them using Google. And I'm not really sure why I'm not able to present to show you this, because I think it would be much more helpful. Just a second. Okay, this will make it a little easier. Sorry for the delay. I know we're on a quick time schedule here. But this is actually an example of how I run our certified staff. I'm showing you the one that I've created for this school year as opposed to last year's because there's no data in there obviously yet as we've not started school. Some different ways if you are an administrator and you want to find ways, how can I use this for my people? Frequently used materials. My teachers can they can access our Google Calendar, which is live. This is something that I update and this keeps it from getting lost. One thing I found is the stuff that I was presenting to them kind of got lost in their in with the Google Classroom calendars that they were creating. So this was a way for teachers to show their live calendar and everything that was going on, their work schedules, ball game schedules, everything that goes on in our school. But it's right here in frequently used materials. The biggest thing that I have thought that helped them with this, it puts it all in one place. They don't have to check their email and try to find their bus duty schedule. They don't have to check their email to find their work groups. Parent contact logs, which we submit weekly, if you'll see the kind of information there. I have those scheduled also in Google Classroom. They pop up every Monday morning because if anybody's like me, Monday morning you have all these good intentions and you forget everything until last minute. These pop up every Monday morning. They are due to be submitted by 5 o'clock on Fridays. Teachers, we have so many assigned parent contact logs, and we've done this for several years. So this is just a one-stop shop where they can put all of this information in, and it's easier for them because this pops up as an assignment because they're in this classroom as students, and it actually gives them a reminder. We have used this is where our teachers submit lesson plans. When I do observations on teachers, my principal and I, he goes through, all of those documents also get submitted in here as well. Obviously, we haven't done any yet, but you will see this is where they go. Their professional development calendar, things that they have to complete every year, classroom inventory form, all of this was kind of a one-stop shop. If you are a teacher that is actually using this, I would highly, highly encourage you to teach your principals. If you can make their life easier, they will love you for it. They may not be people that have kind of learned on this system and been doing this the whole way. Find a way for them to use this, and it will give you an extreme amount of practice. When your kids ask you, oh, how do you submit assignment? Or submit an assignment in Google, you're going to be very familiar with that. And it's going to be easy to walk them through because you're using it as a student this way. It puts everything in one spot. It puts the expectations out there, and it's super clear. Another thing that we had used, and this was new for last year, I've kind of been a little, I hate to say obsessed, but I've been a little obsessed with the use of Google Sites to help with our school about getting information out to our parents, to our communities. We actually used that last year for our entire return to school plan. We created our whole virtual learning center here. All the information, again, one-stop shop that parents would need. You guys are obviously seeing the version that I work on. But when you go to look at it for parents, if parents want to add students to their Google Classrooms, we had a lot of trouble with that, especially with our virtual learners. Oh, we don't know what class codes, or it's easy to make typos in those class codes. They can click here and they can add. If you have Mr. Hoskins' first period, you click on him and it will add you to his first period class. If you have him second period, there's an example version. Through this, you can also go, here's our office support. You can click directly on our cute little Bitmojis and get those, and it'll put you in direct contact with whoever you are needing. And these are our frequently used people in our building. Student schedules, everything we made we wanted to be easily accessible. And then, the great part about this was we got to learn as we went, and things that we found that we were having a lot of calls in the office of what kids were needing or having a hard time finding. It was very easy with Google Sites. If you've not played with that, play with it. It was very easy for us to drag and drop and move things. If it wasn't already up here at the top and easy to find, we moved it and made it easier to find for people. So it was one of those things that it really helped not just our teachers in our building, and not just helped us in the office. It helped our families. It helped our, everybody that we were trying to get on the same page, especially in a situation like what we fell into last year where it was hard to explain. You're trying to tell parents how to log into Google Classroom. We take for granted, your students are great with it. They can do it. But parents, grandparents, people that have never seen things like this before, and trying to get them on board, we wanted to make it as easy as possible. And the use of Google's Classroom for the teachers as a tool, and the use of Google Sites to get information out there was probably the two biggest things that we had last year. So I could definitely go on about what ways that I've specifically used it. But I would definitely want to encourage, if you are a teacher and you have information like this to share with your principal, share it with your principal. Ask him if you can share it with the rest of your teachers. Find some time. If it's 30 minutes after school one day and you've got something awesome to show the teachers in your building, show them. Because the more you use it, again, I was more of I'm going to practice what I preach, and I wanted them to keep using it even when we did return to in-person learning in the spring. So I kept using it. And we want to keep our kids familiar with it, and that keeps our kids learning.
Thank you so much, Jessica. So many things that you just shared that I love, but I love that you're an administrator and, pushing these Google tools to your families, to your teachers, so that they can use them, see the best practices in their classroom too. But like you shared, if you're a teacher and you think this is a great way to help streamline your school, go ahead and show this, to your administrators and, show them the power behind it. Like you said, if it's easy to use, then our teachers will use it. If it's easy to use, our families will get access to it. And so that's what's really important. We want to make it easy for them. They don't need anything else or any other places and clicks and places to go. So thank you. And also thank you to Cami. I threw out there, I'm sure you all noticed too, those titles. They had different fonts in Google Classroom. And I was like, that's awesome. I would love to do that to make things stand out. And so within the chat, Cami mentioned a few different places she uses those fonts to then put there in her Google Classroom. So that's awesome. We're going to go to our next presenter, but I also want to throw in again for those who are just joining us, the Google form. So if you are wanting to use this for PD credit, please fill out that Google form. Remember, make sure you put your email in correctly, spelling, so that you then can receive your credit via email here in the next week. Let's go ahead and move on to our next presenter. We have Mr. Aaron Farrell from Fayette County. He's a teacher, and he's going to share with you all the Library of Google Workspace Applied Digital Skills Lessons. So go ahead and take it away, Aaron.
Good morning, everybody. I hope everybody can hear me. My name is Aaron Farrell. I put the link to my presentation there in the chat if you want to go ahead and click on that. And I'm going to go ahead and present here so everybody can see. Here we go. All right. So with only 10 minutes remaining, I do want to say that you all can click through this presentation at your leisure during this presentation or after this, after the whole conference is done, and learn more about all of this with the information on this site. So here we go. The link, the bit.ly, is up here on the right for everybody. If you didn't get it in the chat for this very presentation, everybody should be able to access it. This is a presentation about Google's Library of Applied Digital Skills Lessons and Projects for your classroom. Real quickly, my name is Aaron Farrell. I am a Google certified educator and certified trainer. I am a teacher of digital literacy and applied digital skills at Leestown Middle School. I teach my students all the Google Workspace apps and how to work their Chromebook better and how to type better. I'm Screencastify certified, CompTIA A+ certified, and I've been in the classroom for 15 years. My email address is down there. If anybody has any questions, wants to send me any questions later on. Let's dive right in. This is a presentation choice board for you to click through right now or after this presentation if you want to find out more information about any part of this presentation. So let's go ahead and get started with what it is. This is the link to the actual Google Applied Digital Skills website if you want to click there and get started right now or later. The Google Workspace Apps has developed a library of self-guided digital lessons and projects, stuff that you actually do with your content in your classrooms, with core content, with electives, with all sorts of different classes. And as I'll show you, it has a lot of different parts to every single project that helps you in the classroom. It has overviews, videos to show you step-by-step how to do it, transcripts so you don't have to watch the whole video, rubrics for you as a teacher, templates that you could use so you don't have to create your own, lesson plans, so forth and so on, etc., etc. The number of resources in here for every single project and lesson is really kind of incredible. I'm going to go ahead and click back to the choice board, go on to our next section here, which is the purpose. Why does the Library of Google Applied Digital Skills exist? First, It helps educators to teach content digitally. If you've been teaching your same stuff on paper and pencil in your classroom, and especially last year with the pandemic, trying to teach online, it was a real hassle to try to figure out, how am I going to take all these copies of stuff that I usually made in my classroom and put it all online? Well, the Applied Digital Skills Library will show you how you can use the Google Workspace tools to teach digitally instead of just on paper. The Library of Applied Digital Skills also teaches students how to use digital tools. For every single little project and lesson, they gain experience in using docs, in using sheets, in using slides, and all the different workspace tools. The library also helps educators to improve their own digital skills for teaching. Maybe you're not that good at slides. Maybe you're not that good at Drive. There are lessons in the library that will help you, and you can learn on your own pace, learn how to accomplish these things a lot better. They even actually have a whole video course about the library site itself. So you can click this link and you can get to a video course about the site and how to navigate it. Let's take a look at its library of content here. It has 150 lessons and projects and growing. This morning I checked, it has 157. All of these are for grades 3 and up, even for adult learners. It covers most all core content, including language arts, math, social studies, and science, and more. Covers a lot of elective areas, including art, computer science, business studies, skills, and career and college readiness. It also teaches everybody about the Google Workspace apps, Drive, Docs, Sheets, Slides, et cetera, for student skill development or even adult skill development. So it has a little bit of something for everybody. How do you navigate it? I'm going to click on this link. It's going to take you directly to the website here where you can browse through all of the projects and lessons here if you want. And much like shopping online, here on the left you have your filters. You can filter by what grade level you are, the digital tool that it will use, and the topic, whatever class you might be teaching. So you can browse through there and figure out what you want. How do you get started with this stuff? There is a whole website full of links and resources about how to get started with teaching any of this stuff with your classroom whenever you want. Every time I check in with this website, they have more and more links and resources here available for you. Okay. What is it going to be used for your classroom? I like to think of this in 3 tiers. The first tier is kind of like the most fully involved. Okay. You can actually assign any of these digital lessons or projects to your class. You can let it loose on your class, say, hey class, go at your own pace, watch these videos, open the template, work on the assignment, do what it says to do. You could even use Google Applied Digital Skills Learning Management System. They have made their own LMS. They call it an ELMS, where you can import your Google Classroom rosters into it and then assign any of these lessons or projects to your class. And you can follow along with your students, give them feedback, grade them, everything just like Google Classroom. It's kind of amazing. The second tier I would say is you can kind of pick and choose, use some of the videos and guides, and then teach your lesson content with that, just kind of at your own pace. The last tier I would say is for you as a professional, as a teacher, you can use it to gain ideas as professional development. As you can see, some of the lessons and projects really give you great ideas about how else you can use that same topic or that same concept in your own classroom. Let's look at use their learning management system. As I just explained, they have their own learning management system called ELMS. The best way to get started with that is on the Applied Digital Skills website, you go to sign in. You can actually sign in as a teacher, so you can teach your own classes, or you can sign in as a student. So actually a teacher could be teaching other teachers with that ELMS. And you can browse that at your leisure. Receiving updates. Check the website often for additional resources and added lessons. Like I said, there are 150 plus lessons on there. And they keep on adding some every month or so. I think the way that I got on their email list is to respond to any feedback that they have to Google. Just put your email address on there and they'll start emailing you about updates. A really important part of this is integrating technology and teaching. I saw a really great IFL presentation earlier this summer about the updated technology standards for teaching in Kentucky. And here are the links that you can look at any of those resources. Kentucky has actually developed its own interface with a whole bunch of resources for teachers to see what the Kentucky educational technological standards are, and Google Applied Digital Skills is on that list. So if you are teaching with these tools, then you are definitely aligning your class with the technology standards for teaching for everybody. And finally, teaching relevant topics. I'm so excited to see not only do we have core content and elective stuff, you can teach your students about MLK Day, about Earth Day, about Juneteenth, about Black history and culture, and they come up with many, many more all the time. Just to show you a brief preview here. Here is a great lesson about comparing and contrasting using Google Slides. If I hit start here, you can see all the videos on these dots. Somebody talks to you. You can get templates and resources and everything. Here is revise and edit a piece of writing. That's good language arts. Here's develop a model in Google Drawings. It's great for science or even social studies. A lot of really great tools out here to help you get started with all of these Google Workspace apps and integrate them into your teaching. Okay? So I'll leave it at that. Please ask any questions.
Thank you so much, Aaron. We really appreciate your time. I think this is a perfect time also to share this resource. Some people put like, thank you so much. As we return to school, you know, this is a place that they can go and just pull from. It could be you just use it and assign it, or you can adapt it to make it, you know, fit the needs of your students. So thank you, Aaron. I didn't see any questions in the chat, but feel free to drop some in there.
Of course, and there's my email address.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you all.
All right, let's get to our next presenter. And we have Miss Susan Vincent from Christian Academy, and she is a K through 12 technology integration specialist. She's going to share with us a little bit more about using the MOTE extension to promote student voice in the classroom. So take it away, Susan. We can't hear you, Miss Susan. Might be your headset. Well, as she's getting that together, I do want to say Susan is a frequent Twitter user. So her handle is at SV314DWS if you want to follow her. She also is a collaborator with Miss Casey Bell. She's, I forget what they call them, one of the leaders. So she's a wealth of knowledge. And so make sure you follow her because she's always got some great things to share. I can't hear you still, Miss Susan. Oh, I think maybe try now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay. All right. I'm so sorry, guys. You got to love when us tech people have the tech problems. So it just makes us flexible. So I want to talk real quick. Again, 10 minutes is a short amount of time to kind of get all this in, but I want to talk a little bit about using the MOTE extension. It was kind of a new trend last year, an extension that Google put out, and it kind of started getting more and more popular. And it has been added to more and more things. So you can see in my link there that I pasted in the chat is my presentation, which I'm not going to talk through the whole presentation. I just want to show you some examples, and you can see my information there if you need to contact me and stuff. But we're going to talk a little bit about, you know, what is MOTE, why should we use it, and where can you find it? So it is a free Chrome extension. So let me see if I can share. Hopefully we won't have the entire audio catastrophe that we had with sharing my screen. All right. So here we are. You can see my screen, and pasted there is just one of my YouTube videos, but it is a free Chrome extension. So if you go to the web store or however you manage extensions in your district through the admin console, if you want teachers can find this and just add it to Chrome. If you want students to use it also, which it is available for students right through their school Google account, you will need to do whatever you do to push out extensions for your students. So it's there, however you manage extensions in your district, and it creates voice notes right inside of most of the main Google Workspace apps that we use. And I'm going to show you a couple of those examples. Instead of typing out a comment on Google Docs, you know, sometimes as a teacher, or we're collaborating with our teammates in lesson planning, and we need to give feedback, whether it's student feedback or feedback to our peers as we're planning something. You know, it's so much to type, and then we're sitting there typing forever. And sometimes I'm just like, I'd rather just say it out loud. Mode allows us to do that right within a Google comment on the Google Doc. So really quickly, if you haven't seen this, I have a Google Doc here. We have a section down here, and we're collaborating along. And then we go over here to get ready to add a comment. And if we have the mode extension up in our extension area, it will give you the little purple circle symbol. And then I can just simply click on mode. And now if that's flashing, it is now recording my voice, and I'm able to leave a comment of, "Hey, Johnny Joe, this is a great writing. I would like for you to add more details into your description." Then when you're finished, you just hit done, publish the comment as normal, and then it's going to show up right there in their doc or in the doc that you're sharing with your team, and they can play it. So this is great for the whole concept of student voice. We want students to not be afraid to express themselves. And if they have trouble expressing themselves in writing and they would rather use their audible voice, this is an awesome way to make that happen. And again, this is available throughout several of the Google apps. So I want to show you a couple examples. So it's in Docs, Slides, Sheets, but it's also pretty recently been added to Forms. So this is just an example form that I have. So here I am in editing mode of my form, and I can add information to my form right here, but I can also go into preview mode of my form, or look at it as if I'm someone else who is adding answers to their form. And if I'm a person who I want to answer this question of, I'm another teacher and this is where they need continued support, maybe they just need to tell me audibly what that continued support is that they need instead of typing it out. Because many times teachers express themselves audibly into the need that they have if they need tech coach assistance or instructional coach assistant. So they can just simply click here. It starts to record right away, hit done, and then it'll be there. So then it'll come up in the results where I'm able to see it as the coach and be able to hear what they may need help with later. And then one of my favorite places to use Mode is right in Google Classroom. So at my school, in the elementary level, we use Google Classroom, especially since remote learning. We used it before remote learning. All of our elementary teachers are required, K through 5, are required to have a Google Classroom, communicate with families, use it with their students, whether we're in person or remote. And here I am in a Google Classroom as a student. So here is a little assignment. I'm going to view that material. And as a student, if the teacher has comments on, I can make a comment right there. But then I can also, when I'm making my assignments, and I'm the teacher in this classroom, and I go to classwork and I create an assignment just like I normally would, look what we have there. If you have that Mode extension loaded in your Google Classroom, click on Mode, and then you can give directions audibly instead of typing them out. and of course, it's going to request access if you don't already have it. So depending on how long it is between times you use it in the app, but this is one of my favorite additions, is writing to Google Classrooms and Google Forms. So those are great tools. So look through that presentation and talk and think about ways that you can use Mote in your classroom, and then places that you can use it in your classroom. So just load that app, and remember the teachers need it on theirs as well as the students to be able to use it back and forth. Questions, comments, feel free to ask for feedback. I'll be happy to share.
So far, I have not seen any questions, but I think that people, I'm sure, are as amazed as I am. I've seen this, but I appreciate you showing how it can be integrated into multiple Google Workspace tools. I love that it's in comments and docs, slides, and sheets. I did not think of forms. So thank you so much, Susan, for showing me that. I can't wait to support students, our lower level learners, as well as our littles in those lower grades, how we can start using maybe forms with this Mote extension. And I love how you made sure that you said that, yes, teachers need it, but students need it if they need to use Mote in order to submit their responses as well. So thank you so much, Susan. I do see one thing, Miss Kelly Fisher. Have you seen any security concerns? She's trying to figure out, it's blocked in her district, and she just wants to know more information. Have you guys had any personal issues with Mote and security?
We have not had any major issues. I mean, I just approach it like anything with my teachers. As a tech coach, I advise them all the time to monitor what they're doing and, use those digital citizenships. I try to work that in there anyway with everything. So just motivation and encouragement. If you're a tech coach on here, just coaching those teachers through that. And then those of you who are classroom teachers, just be mindful of anything that you would use with your students. In my opinion, we use Flipgrid, so it really is not that much different.
Absolutely. I love how you mentioned, throwing in digital citizenship with this. It's a great time to talk about it and review the expectations always and model those behaviors. And so I think that's great, Susan. Thank you so much for sharing. Let's go ahead and get to our next presenter. We have Miss Jennifer Emberton from Allen County Schools, where she is a media specialist as well as a digital learning coach. And she's going to talk to us more about EMS tools with Google. So take it away, Miss Jennifer.
Good morning, everyone. Okay, can you hear me okay? Now, fair warning, I do have 3 boys in the house that can run through at any time, and if I've got both of these in, I may not hear them, so someone may have to turn on their screen and give me a warning if you can hear them in the background.
I'll let you know, but we could take some entertainment too, right?
Oh, it most definitely, I promise, will make your day more entertaining, 100%. So hopefully they're occupied right now. All right. I'm going to try to catch us back up on time. I have 8 minutes. I'm going to try to be very mindful of that. And I've got my little timer here to start to make sure that I am on track. Okay. So let me share the screen. The title, you'll notice, is a little different. I'm going to make sure that I can see this with you all, and we'll flip back. Okay, good. It's pulled up on there.
We can see your screen.
Wonderful. All right. So the title's a little different. The EMS session that I typically do with EMS PD is PLC. It's backward design, and it is essentially the same, but I had to take some things out of it. So I just recreated this for the time that we have now. And I'm going to go through this very quickly, but I thought if I could share tools that everyone can utilize in their instructional practice from K through 12, and what does this look like with what we do daily? This is something I've presented on quite a few times, and it's just backward design with the Google tools. And this is a step-by-step. So if you are curious as to, and this can be modified, but what this could possibly look like with these Google tools and utilizing those in the practice, you can I've put a copy of this into the comments, and you can share this with whomever. And it's also linked in my website. I believe that's linked on the session. So we'll get started. The goals are listed here. I'm not going to go through that. You all can go through that, but that's typically what I try to cover when I go through this. The first thing I want to talk about is organizing folders and Drive, and just how that's done. So the first thing I typically do is, of course, create that folder, color coded, but I do it intentionally for the year. Way back when I first started utilizing Drive, the first year it was wonderful, but then year 2 came around and I had all this stuff, and I quickly realized I need those yearly folders. And then the second thing is, inside that yearly folder, you can see how those subfolders are utilized or how they're organized. And that's just an example how they're color coded, and that numbering system. I use a lot of emojis as well when I do that. The next thing that I talk about when I'm talking about doing this backward design, utilizing these tools, is after we go through and we make sure that we've got our Drive organized, ready, set up, to go, then we're going to move through to unpacking those standards. And we are going to go inside of that folder that we have just created for the year. We're going to create a brand new sheet, not inside the subfolders. And on that sheet, we're going to title it this course overview, right? And then we're going to have a couple different tabs at the bottom for alignment, standards to learning targets, and then a scope and sequence. And this just helps get my teachers, especially those teachers that are either new to this particular set of standards, if they have new standards out, or if they're just new to a content area, it helps get them organized and focused, so it's more structured as they go through this process. The part of step 2 is going into KentuckyKYStandards.org, locating your standards documents. And once you locate those, taking those priority or essential, whatever that the jargon is in your district or your school, and saying, okay, being very intentional that this is, the standards that I'm working with particularly, and then making sure they're congruent, that congruency, walking over from the standards to the learning targets. Again, when I'm utilizing this tool with new teachers new to content, teachers new to standard, what's really cool about this is when we list out their priority standards, and then they'll go through and they'll have a small work session and they'll do their learning targets, and I will bold or do something different to make the do's stand out, those verbs, and that content. We may put it in a different color, but then looking at those learning targets, and I'll come back and say, okay, this is saying to, cite, and you're saying to do something else here in this learning target. Is that really congruent? Are those two the same things? And that is an awareness piece that aha moment really happens, because we're working smarter, not harder. And this is very easy to do, and it paints that nice, pretty clear picture for us. And that's why I like utilizing these tools. Now, after we have that done in sheets, sheets, go 3, moving on to Google Slides. I prefer Google Slides for putting together something for summative assessments. This can easily be accomplished in Google Docs. But the next thing we'll look at, if we've got that congruent standards to learning target, is what's that going to look like when it's assessed. So inside that subfolder of summative assessments, I just say, okay, inside that, you're going to create a Google slide, and you're going to title it Summative by Unit. And then when that slide pulls up, that slide deck, this is what it's going to look like. You are going to go into the File tab. You're going to go down to Page Setup, because we want this to easily, be printed out, something that you can get a good visual on. And we're going to change the size of that. And then as we're working with the doc, it doesn't have to look like this, but the most important thing is we know we have it chunked. So we want a section title, something to let me know this is your topic, this is your unit. Section for vocabulary. You don't even have to have vocabulary words in there. This may be your first time teaching this. You may add to it or take away as you go. You may just have time to, really reflect and say, what do I think needs to be in here, and adjust that, but a section for vocabulary. Then this is the most important part of this piece. And the reason I like slides, because I can manipulate this when I'm integrating this tool into my practice. And I can say, okay, this is the standard and this is the learning target. And I've already checked to make sure that congruency, right? Identify. Then I'm going to go to that test question, and I want to make sure that I'm being very intentional in aligning that assessment piece, whether it's a pre-test, formative assessment or summative, and making sure that I have that congruency across the board. And this is just a quick look for teachers. And again, another aha moment. Oh, maybe, that's what I need to shift. This is all about increasing student achievement by integrating these tech tools. And then how do the students know that they're moving through that learning progress? So just come up with some type of proficiency scale. For me, it was a scale of 4. What does a 1 look like? What does a 2 look like? A 3, a 4. So that way I can give those students immediate feedback, even if I'm just copying and pasting. Because once I set this up on my end, I can copy and transfer this over to something else that's easy to give out to students on Classroom or whatever. So where are you at in that learning process? That's an easy self-measurement tool. And then the final thing is going into looking at that DOK, because we know we've got that Bloom's alignment, but now let's look at depth of knowledge, because if we're identifying, we can do that on a level 1, level 2, level 3, or level 4. And that's really going to move that critical thinking up, again, increasing student achievement, and you're getting the most bang for your buck looking at this, having that nice visual organization, working smarter, not harder through this integration of tech tools. And let's look at the lower cognitive task, which is easy for teachers to come up with a lot of times. And now let's challenge that and look at how we can take that and move that up on that DOK level. Moving on, this is just, I know I'm running out of time. Google Docs. This is just to give you all a quick look through. Great for putting for parents together and saying this is a skills checklist, parents, students, content partners. And the thing I like the most about Docs is I can say this is, our unit, or this is our standard, or these are our standards, and these are the lessons linked to that particular standard. I'm going to go ahead and move on. And then instructional design. These are 2 that are put out. I know we focus in our district now on that workshop structure, but it's just important to have some type of structure for instructional design, no matter what your strategy is, that's saying, okay, I'm being very intentional when I'm designing. This is step 1, and we're going to go all the way through to the integration process for these students. And this just gives some ideas on how to set that up. And this is like a bonus because I simply just love this. If you do a lot of work with slides, then this app takes your slides and you can structure it to be an app. You have to pay for more than one, but for you can have your slide deck that you've just created and say, okay, here's my different units. And I click on unit 1 and bam, there's my learning targets. And then you could say these are the standards, or you could say these are the lessons. And that's pretty much it. You all follow me on Twitter. I love more followers. I think I've covered everything today. Slide decks in the comment section. Thank you all for having me.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. Like she mentioned, I know 10 minutes was fast, and she's got a ton of information there. She put her slides here in the chat, but also don't forget within the spreadsheet, she has her slides linked as well if you want to go check that out, as well as her contact information. I don't see any questions, and so we'll go ahead and move on with our next presenter. Next, Michelle Gaddis is going to join us from Marshall County, where she is their digital learning coach, and she's going to share specifically with us Google Forms and Eliminate Choices. So go ahead and take it away, Miss Michelle. Let's see, I think, looks like Michelle is not here quite yet. She might be joining us soon. Miss Sarah, do you want to share one of your templates while we see if Michelle will join us?
Yep, sure. I'm happy to do that. So this is one I have put out on the GEG Kentucky Twitter account before, but let me share my screen here. And what I'm going to show you is a self-checking template, and I will share that template with you in the chat when I'm finished here. So what you can see here is I have questions. I have a space for students to put their answer, and then I have my Bitmoji and a checkbox for help. So what happens when a student is on this, if they put in a correct answer, my Bitmoji will change. If they put in a wrong answer, my Bitmoji will change. But they can also click this help button to get a hint. So it's kind of all Self-led, they can tell if they're right or wrong. And you can do this, I've got pretty simple math questions in here, but you can do this with anything relatively short. Numbers, a single vocab word would be easy if you make the question the definition, but it's all programmed and set up for you, but it has to be something that the spreadsheet can kind of check. Is their answer the same as the one that you've put on the key? So that's what it looks like from the student side. But what will be important for you is how you get this set up. So again, I will share this template with you, and there's a little video at the top that will remind you of these steps. But the way that it's set up is with a hidden sheet that's called For the Teacher. So you are not going to type anything on this first page. You're going to go to the hidden sheet, and this is where you're going to put everything. So you'll call this math assignment. You'll put in your questions here. You'll put in your answers over here. You can put in your hints if you want to, and you don't have to use those. And then you'll put your correct Bitmoji, your incorrect Bitmoji, and your starting one. Now, when you're doing these, be aware that you don't just want to go get this and pull a Bitmoji over, because that is going to put it on top of the sheet, and you actually need the Bitmoji in the cell. So you just want to take a Bitmoji and save it, save the image. And I had fun going through them. You could use the same Bitmojis for all of them, but my students, my 8th graders, really bought into the idea that each one was different and wanted to see what the correct one was. And so once you've saved it, then you would go to Insert Image, and it will ask you in the cell or over the cell, and you will say in the cell. And that's what's going to put that little Bitmoji in the actual space there. So once you have all of this programmed in, you would hide this again so that your students can't see it. And then this is what you would share with them. And you can see my new questions are over here. If the kids try to click on this and change it, it gives them a little pop-up. They could still change it, but if they've got their own copy and are the editor, but hopefully they won't. I tell my students the only place you should type is where there's red. So you type your name and then you type the rest of it. But you can see that new Bitmoji I just put in will pop up, and it's programmed for, I think, 12 questions, but you could add more on there, and you would just need to extend that hidden sheet down. I will stick that in the chat in just a second, as soon as I get that information, that stuff I just put in out of there, and it's a blank template again, but hopefully that's something you can use.
Absolutely. Like I said, Sarah has done all of that back end work, and so you just have to manipulate it and make it your own, which is awesome. So thank you so much for sharing that with us, Sarah, and on a whim. Let's go ahead and let's get to our next presenter. That might give them some extra time. I think for some of you, we've kind of had to rush you in, and so that might make it better for them as well. Our next presenter we have here is Mr. Craig, I hope I'm saying it right, Wilmhoff. He's a teacher and digital learning coach in Perry County, and he will be sharing utilizing multiple versions of a timed assessment. Let's see if Craig has joined us quite yet. I wonder if we have a time zone thing going on here too. We posted the 10 to 12 Eastern Standard Time. So also that could have meant that, they are an hour behind, and so they might join us, but an hour later. So while we wait for Craig, I'm going to go ahead, and if you don't mind, recently I shared a passion of mine, a Google tool is Google Earth, and specifically the project tool. And so I'd love to share the project tool with you all, if you don't mind, to see maybe how you could use this this upcoming school year. So let me pull this up and share that with you as well. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. There we go. And Sarah also just dropped that template in there if you want to see it. Here we go. So recently, and I'm sorry if also some of you have already seen this through KY Go Digital, but I think that Google's project tool is an awesome tool that we can use. And I've used it for many years, but I've really found that this school year, it was really extra powerful because I know that some of us were teaching remotely. Some of us were teaching in person, but we had different restrictions and guidelines, and we couldn't travel with our students and take them always beyond those four walls of our classroom. And so Google's project tool really, I think, helped to bring those experiences to our students, as well as just make our content more engaging. So let me share with you, if you have not looked at Google Earth before, it is a platform through Google. You can find it up within your Skinny Snowman or just by going to earth.google.com. And it is a great tool to use with your students. When you get there, here's kind of what the main menu looks like. When you get there, you have the search feature. This is something called Voyager that has pre-made lessons and activities and simulations by Google you could use. This dice is called I'm Feeling Lucky, and it's really cool because if you click on it, it takes you or flies you into anywhere around the world using this virtual globe. And then with your students, you can kind of look around and make inferences and guess, where are we based on, the culture that we see? What clothing are they wearing? What does the climate look like? What are the animals I might see? And so it's a cool little tool to use. The next tool here is called the projects tool. And that is what I'm going to share more about here in just a second, that allows you to kind of create your own virtual tours. Next here, this is layering, and so it just changes the look of your map. And last but not least, this is the measurement tool. And so that's very helpful for incorporating real world mathematics in your classroom as well. So let's look at the actual basics of the project tool. And so I'm going to actually come up to a new tab because I would rather show you in real time. So you can go to earth.google.com, or you can, like I said, you could also go up to that burnt waffle and open it up as well. I love Google Earth and the projects tool because it does save automatically to your Google Drive. And so it's easy to access for you, and it saves automatically as well as for students. So yes, this could have teacher use, but also students can use this as well. When you first get here, it will, pull if you have your location on where you're at. And so you can see I am here in LaGrange in Oldham County. And then what I want to show you is over here, this projects tool. When I click on it to start a new tour, all you have to do is click here on new project. And then I prefer to create a new project in my Google Drive. That's what I also would have students do. What's great is also, since it's a Google product, and not only is it saving automatically, but you have this little add or share project button, which will allow you to add collaborators. So you can work on it. You can work on it with a colleague. So if it's maybe more teacher directed, you and a teacher could create this together to share with students. Also, students can collaborate. We know that there's power there when students are able to create on their own, and even if they can collaborate with others. And so when you type their name in here, so I'm going to type in, actually, I'm going to just add my boss here. So if I added her in there, and I can then choose, so it works like any other Google application. Do I just want her to view it, or do I want her to edit and collaborate with me? And I click that send button. From there, though, you can right here easily, as you can see, title your projects. I'm going to call this a test tour of LaGrange, maybe. And you can add your description. So I can just say this is a tour of my town. So really user friendly. It really walks you through it. And then you add what we call features. I like to think about those as like different stops along your tour. Under the features, you can add places through a search button, adding a place mark, or you can also add in slides to kind of help break up the content. I like to do that to kind of welcome my students or to make places within my virtual tour where I want them maybe to stop and reflect or think about something. And so I'm going to go to full screen slide, let you see what that looks like first. And maybe I'm going to say, welcome, join me on my tour. And it literally just puts in a slide, kind of a blank slide, and it has this message on it for students. Join me on a tour of LaGrange. And I can change it, as you can see here, very user friendly. I can make it larger, smaller. I can make it bold, italicized. I can add links and so on. I can change the color of the slide and just make it a basic color, or I can add an image if I want that as well. And it's saving automatically. And then I can continue to add a feature. And so I prefer to add features while searching instead adding a place mark, which means you would just drop in the pin here as you're looking and add it that way. So I'm going to click search to add it. I'm just going to say maybe the Oldham County Courthouse. That's an important place. And as you can see, it predicts it for you. It will find it in what they call fly you in. And then you can, once you have that aerial view and you're sure that that's what you want to add, you can click this add to project button to add that as your first stop. And it lets you customize the title. Make sure that you want to add it to this specific project. That is it. I'm going to say save. And so now I have that, as you can see here in my menu, I have that as my next stop. I like to, and you can click on it and edit it if you want. It pulls the information automatically on those cards that you saw from Wikipedia for Google, but I prefer to always replace it and make it my own. And that's really, I think, also the power behind it. When you click replace, now you can add up to 8 images or videos about that place to add additional content. You can put in a description here. So you could say like, this is our courthouse, and add in more information, facts, any type of data there, additional links. Like I said, you can pull in additional images or videos right here in that familiar Google search. So maybe I want to put in Oldham County Courthouse and get additional photos. I could also upload them though and select them. They just populate in here. And so those are there for the students to see as well. And like I said, you can also add in videos, whether it's from your Google Drive or YouTube that's already been uploaded, to find them for students to watch. I like to always make my info boxes so that those cards large so that students can really see them and read them. You can change what the place mark looks like, the color of it, if you want to maybe color coordinate them, make them different colors, and so on. Make that mark extra big so they can really see it, and it's saving automatically, like I mentioned. And so as you continue, you can add up as many features as you want here. And when you're ready, you can share this tour with students by coming to the share button and grabbing that link, and you can post it anywhere. So maybe your website or a learning management system like Google Classroom or Seesaw or Canvas, anywhere you want to post this for students to see. They can now view it in that present mode, and it walks them through the tour. Let me come on back here. I know I just have a few minutes and I haven't been watching the chat, but let me know if anyone has any questions. But I wanted to quickly maybe show you an example. So on these slides, and I will also share these slides with you all. Sorry, I should have probably shared those as I got started. So I'm going to paste that in there real quick for you. There's my slides. But at the end, there are some real examples of how I or other students have used this in the classroom. There's so many I'd love to show you, but I think I'd like to show you really quickly this timeline. I know I don't have a lot of time. So many different examples of how you can use this in all content areas. Here's an example of how I made this one for a 5th grade classroom. So this was more teacher focused, not students focused, but there are also student examples on there. And it was about the key events in the American Revolution. So when students saw this, I'm going to push the present button. This is what they would see. So here's their table of contents, and they can walk through it. As you can see, this is the slide that they can, have their introduction, and they click on the next button. Now it has, we're going to lead up to the war, and it's going to fly them into their first location, which is the Boston Massacre site. And so it flies them in. Here are those cards I talked about. I uploaded my own information. They have images. They have from primary sources as well as, what it looks like today. They can flip through, and they can even, with their tools now, take Mr. Penman here and drop in if they want when they pick him up anywhere in blue, and they could see where the site, what it looks like today, where the Boston Massacre was. And so, like I said, these are things we could not do probably. We could probably not take a field trip to Boston, unfortunately, but they could see, what it looks like today even. So that's pretty cool. And then they go to the next slide when they're ready, and it flies them to the next place, the Boston Tea Party, to learn more about this. And like I said, they can go through the cards. So just a different way to learn that content. So that's one example. like I said, please check out some of these other examples. This draft writing, this was actually by a second grade student that I worked with. He has trouble sometimes, getting his thoughts on paper. So instead, we let him draft his personal narrative in Google Earth. So he says it's called the Mickey Mouse boat trip. That meant a cruise. And so if you click on this and view it, you'll see how he kind of got his thoughts going and his events organized through Google Earth before being able to write and publish his thinking. And then also check out some of these other examples of how they can be used in the classroom. I'm going to jump back and see and stop presenting. I know that was quick. I could spend an hour or more on Google Earth, and specifically the projects tool. So that was just one tool in Google Earth. So if you have not before, go check out Google Earth and play with it. Please check out my slides and let me know if you have any questions about that. I don't see any questions. I think it's something, like I said, you have to just really dig into. All right. I'm going to go ahead and jump out of here. And so I don't think I see any questions. All right, let's go ahead and let's go to our next presenter. Miss Samantha Abercrombie is from Oldham County here with me. She's an awesome 5th grade teacher from LaGrange Elementary close by. And today she's going to share with you what she calls her badge to school. So I'm really excited for her to showcase this with you. So take it away, Samantha.
Thank you, Lauren. Hello, everyone. I'm going to get my screen presented here really quickly. All right. So yeah, Lauren did a nice job of introducing for me. My name is Samantha, 5th grade teacher at LaGrange Elementary, repping my leopards here. I'm so excited to share this idea with you. It was born out of the changes that came about because of COVID wrecking our school year and those kinds of things. And the team and I were like, what can we do? How can we motivate our students? And so this was born. So today I want to share Badge Your It. We're going to talk about incentivizing students with digital badges. In the lower left-hand corner, you will see the bit.ly link so you can snag your own copy of the presentation if you'd like to. It's BYI21, Badge Your It 21. And then my Twitter handle is on the lower right side if you want to give me a follow on Twitter and share some ideas with me. All right, so I'm going to talk about how we are planning to use Google Forms and the add-on Certify-em to implement a digital badging system in our classrooms. And it all starts like this. Every year, I had always done a classroom scavenger hunt to help my kiddos acclimate to the new room and learn where all of the important things are, which included like where are the exits, where's the pencil sharpener, where's the daily schedule, stuff like that that's going to help them be successful as they're starting a brand new year in a new classroom. So it looks like this. This was refilled version just so you could see what it looks like. It's nothing super fancy. That's my Bitmoji classroom at the top, so they're getting familiar with what that looks like. And just things like, and I did make every question required just because I do want them practicing looking for these things and answering the questions. So what's the room number? How many kiddos are in class? How many book bins are there? So on and so forth. So just some things. And when I did set this up, it is set up as a quiz, which I'll talk about more in just a second. And I also set the passing score on this one at 0 because I don't really care if they missed one of these. That's not the purpose of the activity. I'm not trying to make anyone feel bad because they miscounted book bins, right? So we'll talk about that in just a second. But that's what the form looks like. And then, as I was saying, I have it set to collect their emails so I can tell exactly who was on the form and who completed it. It is restricted to my organization just because I feel like that's going to keep my kiddos safer. And I don't want anything bad happening that shouldn't. And for this one, it is limited to one response because this isn't something that we will do over and over again. It's an introduction to our classroom, and then we'll move on to some other things. This will change later in the year as we do other things. But for this one, I did limit it to just one response. And then after you have the form set up, so this can be a form for anything. It doesn't have to be a scavenger hunt. Because we are implementing a full digital badging system in our 5th grade this year, we're offering badges for things like finishing books for the book challenge that we're doing, for MAP scores and DRA scores and showing leadership, just pretty much anything, because this is how we're incentivizing our students to be the best selves that they can. So the passing score and the things like that, that will change as the form has to be adjusted to meet whatever it is we're offering. But no matter what your form is, no matter what the badge is for, you have to get your add-on for Certify 'em. If you haven't played with Certify 'em, it is pretty cool. It's amazing how easy it is to use. I created my own template here for our certificate, which I'll show you in just a second. But Certify 'em has lots of templates already built in, and the templates are certificates that are pre-made, and it'll fill in the information for you. It's so easy. As soon as a kid takes your form, if they meet the passing score criteria that you set for them, it will either automatically go to their email or their drive, depending on how you set it. And they have a certificate right away saying, congratulations, you passed. Here's your certificate. And so there are lots of ways to use Certify 'em, but we're using it for our badge system. So I started my add-ons. I turned Certify 'em on. I set my passing score to 0 for this one, for the scavenger hunt, because again, I'm not trying to shame anybody for miscounting their history books or anything like that. And I've uploaded our specific template for the 5th grade official badge. And then down here and more in the advanced, that's where you can click to where you want it to go. I believe we've decided we want the certificates to go straight to their drive, just because we know they're familiar with that right now, and we'll have to do some lessons to help them get into their emails later. So here's what the certificate looks like. It's nothing fancy. We created it in Google Slides. So we just did some borders, congratulations, you've earned your first badge. You're now 5th grade official. Feeling like they're comfortable with their classroom as a way of kind of initiating the year for them. And so this is what kiddos will copy and paste into their digital data binders. Another thing born out of necessity of taking everything virtual because of COVID, but we ended up really loving it. So instead of a binder where we're putting in hard copies all year long, we're doing digital data binders, which is also in Slides this year. And the whole back section, I think it's like 20 pages worth, we've set it up for them to just collect their digital badges. And so everyone will be able to start, right at the beginning of the year with this first badge. And all of this is exactly what they will see in their drive. So then all they have to do is right click, copy, paste into their digital data binder, and it's the first of many that they'll be able to collect. So I have just a few minutes left, so let's just talk about how we did this, the quick reference. Again, if you didn't grab that bit.ly, you can, because you'll be able to go back to this, and I'm giving you a little bonus at the bottom. So just make sure you have your form set first and set it as a quiz so that you can set that criteria for passing. If it's a one-time activity, limit to one response. If it's a repeat, set it to unlimited. So for example, if we're doing badges for showing leadership, that's a form that we're going to want kiddos to be able to complete more than once. So that one will be set to unlimited responses. We won't limit that one. Open your Certify 'em add-on, update your score requirements, choose your template or upload your own that was created in Google Slides, and then determine where you want their certificate to go to, email or drive. All right, so the fun little bonus, we're really excited about this digital badging system that we're going to start, but we know that kiddos also need some kind of ownership, so they feel a little more attached and a little more eager. So this is something else that I created. I created this in drawings. So when you click it, it's going to ask you to make your own copy so that you can do whatever you want with it and it won't impact me or my students. But this is an activity that we're going to share with our kids so they can help us design some of the badges, because we also don't want that all on our shoulders, right? So kids will get a copy of this drawing and they'll be able to design 3 badges, and we, as a team, the teachers will decide which badges we want to use for which earnings. So we've like added a list at the bottom that tells them, you know, these are some of the things we can earn badges for. So if they wanted to put words on banners, they can change the colors, so on and so forth. Those are some of the things that they'll be able to earn badges for, and they can help us create some of those fun badges to use in their digital binders. So I hope you are getting excited and getting some ideas about how to use some of these tools with your kids this year. We're hoping that it's a more normal year and we get to stay in person in our classrooms with them all year long. But activities like this one, using digital badges and using a digital notebook and all of those things are things you can use no matter where you are. And it helps create some excitement for your year. And I think your kiddos will really enjoy it too. So badge you're it. And I hope you're excited to give it a try. Really quick with this last minute, I'm just looking in the comments just to make sure I didn't miss anything really important, or questions, things like that. Slide Mania, yes, Slide Mania and Slides Carnival are both great options if you're looking for a template and you're not real good about creating it yourself. The bit.ly, let me go back to the slide for you so you can snatch it up really quick, and then my time is over. So bit.ly BYI21, and that'll get you your copy. Thank you for letting me share today.
Thank you so much, Dr. Samantha. I'm also trying to type it in as well here if people can get
Thank
it.
you. Yes, perfect. Thank you.
And of course, I accidentally brought the dot, bit.ly, and you all know it's case sensitive and it has to be exactly how you see it. BYI21. Try that one.
Here we go.
Thank you so much, Samantha. And I appreciate, talking about the efficiency, but building relationships, and that badge system is great with doing that as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So without further ado, we're going to move on to our next presenter. She's presenting right now, but also she has another one here in a little bit too. So thank you, Ms. Laura Clark from NKCES. You'll have to tell me more about that. She's a special ed consultant. And for her first session right now, she's going to talk to us about using Google Lens to increase access for students with disabilities and English learners.
Good morning. I'm so excited to be here with you. So I'm actually sharing something that was shared with me. It's always great when we can kind of roll forward all the glorious learning. And so within the past year, one of my colleagues shared with me Google Lens, and I'll just be honest, I was not even aware that it was on my phone. I've been using Google all this time and didn't realize the power of Google Lens. So rather than making a separate presentation that you would have to hang on to, we're just going to use the Google resources that are shared. So if you have an Apple phone, then all you need to do is make sure you've got Chrome loaded as a browser. In just a minute, I'll show you the other options if you have an Android phone. But just a few of the fantastic things that we can do on our phones and iPads. If you're using your Google to search, you'll notice that there's that little square icon up here in the corner next to the microphone. If you click on that, then you're going to see pop up the Google Lens name, and at the bottom you'll see these magical words appear. Translate text and speech, if it sees any words at all appear. And it will scan and translate text, which is wonderful for our English learners and our students with disabilities. If you scroll down a little bit further, a lot of times all of us have problems with word finding. We're looking at something and we're like, I know that's called something, can't remember what that's called. Google Lens will actually scan any item like this pair of tennis shoes, pull that up, tell us what it might be, and give us some options. So fantastic for our younger kids and us older kids who are trying to figure out what in the world is that. You can copy and paste text to your computer. So of course we want to work with our kids on the importance of copyright laws and not copying directly, but it would give them an opportunity to copy something in and then practice those skills of paraphrasing and synthesizing text. Another fantastic opportunity is to use that Google Lens to identify things in nature and be able to do some quick activities, figuring out what things are not only in our classroom, but in the world around us. Another great school use, step-by-step homework help. Who knew? Everything in one simple lens. So we can access these through Google Play, through the App Store, either using Google Lens, Google Photos, or Google. So, oh my word, how many fantastic tools with just a simple little search. To kind of give us a few bonus activities, because I know I went really fast through all the different ways we could use Google Lens. I just wanted to kind of pull that all together into our school world. You know, we're all talking about the importance of universal design for learning and making sure our classrooms are accessible for all of our learners. But sometimes we kind of forget the power of UDL. So if you haven't had a chance to check out CAS Guidelines for Universal Design for Learning, if you go to the link that is in this resource guide that I put in the chat, if you click on any single item that's part of the big picture of UDL, so for example, Google Lens supports the decoding of text, mathematical notation, and symbols. And when you click on any one of these, it will take you into a deeper dive and other suggestions. So if you're like, I like Google Lens, but either I can't download it, not sure it's the right tool, it will tell you other tools that could be used for that same purpose. And I know we're all trying to find the best and greatest, quickest resources we can access. So I just wanted to share with you, and I know, Lauren, that you said you'd like to know just a little bit more about what we do. So I am at NKCES, which is one of the 9 cooperatives throughout the state of Kentucky. Our co-op supports Northern Kentucky. And all the co-ops throughout the COVID-19 year spend a lot of time building online resources and modules for teachers. So we have a free online learning site, and I've got the URL included there. When you go to that online learning site, it's set up so that you can quickly find information that you might want to learn more about. So for example, if you're trying to support our students' social emotional learning needs, thinking about trauma-informed care, when you click on that tab, you'll find all of the free trainings. It will tell you how many hours of PD and ELA are available. And as you can see, there's quite a few trainings, and you'll also see the other co-ops. We've linked in some of their resources there. If you are supporting new teachers, and I know many of us are, we have lots of different trainings for those new teachers. So for general education teachers supporting students with disabilities, we've got a nice overview. We've got training specific for MSD and LBD special education teachers. We've also got lots of trainings for new administrators. And again, they're all free. They all come with ELA. So if we've got new administrators that are trying to navigate the world of special education, this is kind of a nice intro package, but they can do any one of those that they would like. We also have a training or support sites for parents, thinking about remote learner, substitute teachers, just kind of a little bit of everything that you might need to support students with disabilities. Another site I wanted to share with you that we just recently built to support students with disabilities is this Reading for All site. This site is designed specifically to support emerging readers. So when we have students with autism and more significant cognitive disabilities, we know now through the research that every student can be a reader and can be a writer if we give them the right tools and teaching, but we haven't always had those tools at hand. So this site I built out to give us some of those tools to make sure every student has access to explicit instruction in alphabet letters and in those early phonics stages. So we've got the letters A through Z. These are all Google Slides books, but I've also uploaded them in PDF and PowerPoint formats for teachers. And this follows the research-based practice for teaching. So lots of supports. We also have those books. Most of them have already been translated into a version for students with cortical visual impairments. So lots of supports and ideas, all linked into this site that tie in nicely with the use of Google Lens, which absolutely is a tool we can teach kids to use every day to quickly scan text and make sure they read it first, and then they can use Google Lens to read it back to them, make sure they're on the right track. Thanks, Lauren.
Thank you so much, Laura. I appreciate you sharing your expertise on Google Lens, but also a plethora of other resources. I saw people getting excited about all the different professional learning opportunities you provide for teachers, for administrators, for families. They're on your site, and I noticed it was a Google site as well. So thank you so much. That I know they appreciate it too. Did we have about one quick minute? Anyone have any questions about Google Lens, or even maybe experiences that you want to share of how you use Google Lens in your classroom? It looks like
Nicole says the link is restricted. Nicole, can you tell me, was it the link that I posted or the link? Okay, great. I'll go in and check and make sure that it is no longer a restricted link. I'll stop sharing my screen so the next presenter can jump in, and I'll fix that right away. Thanks for letting me know.
all right, perfect. We'll go ahead and jump in then with our next presenter. Thank you so much again, Lauren. We'll see you again soon in just a second. Our next presenter is Miss Susan McGrath. She comes to us from Fayette County Public Schools, where she is a digital learning coach, and she's going to talk to us today about gamification with digital badges.
Hi, everyone. I hope you guys can hear me.
And
Okay, thank you, Lauren. I have a bit.ly that you can see hopefully here on the bottom of your screen that will let you get into my presentation, which kind of will piggyback on Samantha's presentation on badges. I had a teacher that came to me in January and wanted to learn how to incorporate digital badges into her elementary school classroom. And so I did a little research for her on how she could do that with ease. That would automatically kind of upload to students' emails or somewhere where they could see it easily, and she could also share with families. So that was what led me to kind of research digital badges and gamification. And with the Olympics going on, I just watched trampoline in the Olympics, which was pretty neat. Games can be a huge engaging way to get students excited about their learning. So in the next 10 minutes, I hope to share with you lots of resources to do that in your Google Classroom. Also have instructions to do it in Canvas. So if you want to reach out to me, I can share that if you're using the Canvas platform as well. So all the links here on the bit.ly will take you to the resources that you need. So this is kind of our table of contents. So if you want to jump around there, you can. But a big thing is, why would we use badges? So if we're pushing this out as a digital learning coach, or you're a school technology coordinator, why would you want to use badges and do that extra work as a teacher? Well, there's wonderful work and research. Even ISTE talks about how gamification is transforming classrooms. And when we want to bring gaming into our classes, we can use those elements in Google, especially to enhance learning and student engagement as well. So it's a great way to get engagement, like I mentioned before, fun, building empathy, cooperation. And what I really like about it is its focus on mastery and not so much on grades. What I've seen as a high school math teacher for 24 years is I had many students that were really focused on either getting that A or getting that 100, or felt defeated because they weren't getting the grade they wanted. And what digital badges allow you to do is kind of move away from a grading scale and into, are you mastering content? And so you can really use those as a kind of in a standard-based environment without having to worry too much about grades. I think it's great for kindergarten all the way through high school. So any of these links here will take you out to resources where you can see things about that. So if you click on those images, it'll take you to other links. Some great strategies for digital badges come from Shake It Up Learning. So you can go out and look at some 5 awesome resources for badges in your classroom. So I'll let you go to that link if you have some time. But some other great research. I love Fred Rogers' quote about play. I'm all about playful learning in the classroom. And it just gives children a chance to practice what they're learning. It also, our students sometimes don't get play. And so it can bring that into the classroom where they might not be getting it at home. But again, moves away from traditional grades. It can be at the heart of a student-centered classroom, empowering students and giving them ownership. And then again, can be both motivational and enjoyable. And if you click the links on the circle there, it'll take you out to those research, those quote sites. So how is Google used in creating badges? Well, everywhere. So you can actually have your students create badges. Instead of you doing a ton of work on the front end to get those badges out, give the control to your students to create the badges. And so there's many ways they can create them. You can use Adobe Spark is a neat way to create the badges. Canva is another, but you really want to be careful with Canva and its age restrictions. So if you're working with students over the age of 13, that's great. But also Google Drawings. So right there in Google, in our Googlepalooza, the Google Drawings can be made. And then we want to store those badges in a specific Google Drive folder. So have them share the badges with you. You could have students do specific badges in groups. I think it's a great way to include students and get them excited by also using that Google product to create the badges as well. And I think Erin talked today about the Google Applied Skills, and they actually have a lesson that's about designing and sharing digital badges. So if you go to the Google Applied Skills and search Google badges, you'll see a really nice lesson there that you could use that's already set up for your class. So again, using some great Google products. What I used when one of my teachers from the elementary school asked me about it is I used what was called Magic Badges, and it's called Magic Digital Badges. And so I've got all of the information here on how to do that. It's basically a 4-step process. First, asking possibly your IT department or your tech at your school to make sure that you have the add-on available, which I had to do in Fayette County first. Then adding the badges in and some pupil details into a Google Sheet, and then launching that extension, and it will generate Drive folders and assign badges to students. Also, it will send out emails. And what's really great about this Magic Digital Badges add-on in Google is that it will create and refresh a leaderboard. So you can really have some fun with that. And then again, it'll assign and manage your emails, renaming and resetting options as well. If you have new students come in, it has those opportunities for you. One thing I do want to mention about that Magic Digital Badge add-on is the owner of who's created it. He has his email available to you. I actually reached out to him and asked him some questions. He lives in England. He emailed right back the next day. It was wonderful. So if you're having some trouble with it, or if you have questions, you can actually reach out to him as well, which was pretty neat. But these are the steps again, and I won't go through all the steps. Don't play. But I have video instructions, and you've got the instructions there on the sheet as well. It's wonderful. Sorry, I didn't have that set up. And it will create the digital badge folder for you, sends out the emails. I'm not huge on sharing leaderboards, but what you can do is it'll keep track for you. And then you can put something in your Google Classroom that says, hey, here's our leader for this week. So that, students can get that kind of rivalry going and you can even create kind of a sports center feel to that. So those are the 4 instructions. I also included the owners, creators, YouTube instructions here, and then some other good YouTube instructions that I found that were helpful for me, which are going to start. Sorry, don't start on the click. And then if you don't like video instructions, I have written instructions as well that you can share out to your teachers. But then displaying the badges, another idea that I've seen is actually having students create a Google site. And so you can incorporate it into Google Classroom, but then you could also have students keep track like a portfolio. They could create on their own Google site. And so there you're incorporating another Google product as well. And so I've got some links here. Alice Keeler has some great ideas as well. There's great ideas on Wakelet of how to incorporate digital badges, and Pinterest too. And then there's a whole district out in Colorado that's using digital badges for their whole district for parents, teachers, and students. There's a link there if you want to take a look at that. What's wonderful about incorporating all of this is it covers a lot of our new Kentucky technology standards, especially our creative communicator. So it's a wonderful way to cover your technology standards. I've got links to those if you haven't been able to check those out yet. And so thanks so much to Googlepalooza for having me. And if you have any questions or want some help with what you saw in the slide deck today, just email me or follow me on Twitter. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Susan. And I appreciate you making that connection there to our new Kentucky technology standards, as well as also talking about, giving students the power also to create those badges as well. That's, very powerful when students are a part of that process as well. And even talking, there's a badge lesson, like Erin mentioned, within that CS First as well. So pretty awesome. A ton of connections there. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get to our 11:30 presenter. Miss Laura Clark is back here with us with NKCES. Remember, she's that special ed consultant. And in this session, she's going to share more about Google Slides, free photos, and images, which equals better writing options. So go ahead and take it away again, Miss Laura.
All right, excellent. Thank you so much. I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into that Reading for All site that I shared with you and kind of walk you through some of the process I've used to create books for my students and some of my favorite resources. These are all excellent tools we can use when we have writers who either are struggling with the idea production or actual generation of writing. So just a few ideas, and I'm going to share those just by quickly scanning through. Here I've got a Google slide deck, and I used a Slides Mania template. So if you aren't already a lover of all things Slides Mania, the 2 slides deck generator idea sites that I use a lot are Slides Mania and Slides Carnival. They have a ton of free templates, and sometimes just finding and scanning through those templates, I get an idea for writing. So I always start there with a cool template. And then as I'm working through my book, here we were talking about things with the letter I. And so I wanted some I pictures. So you can see here that I've chosen iguana, an igloo, an insect. And we want to make sure that our students and that we are using images that are copyright free or appropriate for our school use, and that students have safe places to search. So within Google Slides, I'm going to just make myself a new slide, and I have a bunch of add-ons. So if you haven't yet explored add-ons, you'll notice here that I have Pexels and I have Unsplash. I also have icons. So I'm going to start here with icons, and these are actually flat icons. And I noticed that I didn't include the flat icons link yet in my Google Docs. So I will go back and do this, but you'll notice this opened up flat icons. And obviously I was searching for a bunch of letters, but you can also search for icons themselves. A quick teacher tip that I didn't realize for a while: if you've been searching for items, it will start restricting your search criteria. So you always want to make sure you click on this little 3 slotted lines to make sure you're looking for all things possible, and say, I want to look for a house, which I know isn't part of my I letters, but it came to mind quickly. Anything with a star is premier access, and you have to pay for that. But anything without a star, we can add on. So we can just dump right in. Here's a picture of a house. Sometimes it will let you recolor them. Other times you get the color you get, and we won't throw a fit because it's a free icon. And we can dump that in. One thing I haven't figured out, so if anybody else knows how to do, with flat icons, they will get, they have a kind of a limit to how big they can get, or they'll start to get blurry, but nonetheless, free icons. And I'm really happy with that. The thing I use a lot for instruction, they have tons of arrows and circles that we can use that are really colorful that can add. And then with those, I often, and I'm sure you all are friends with this too, add a bunch of transitions. So we might be talking about a house and I'll add a transition so that my house spins in. And if you want to see what that looks like, click on the magic play button, and then you can see, woohoo, we made that house spin. And my kids always really like that. Okay, so on to how do I find these great images? I'm going to use this slide again as my blank slide and say that I want to find a fantastic picture. Two things to know about the differences between Unsplash and Pexels when importing here. Unsplash is set to fill up the entire slide. Pexels will dump a picture in there that's smaller that you might have to resize. But we're going to click on Insert an Unsplash Image, and again, I'm going to go this time with flowers. I know, not with the eye theme, but we'll just make that work. All right, so we're going to dump this flower picture in. Sometimes the picture doesn't import well. You'll just get a white box, and so then I just delete that white box and try again. But my flower's pulled in here, but I'm not exactly happy with how it chose to crop it. So if I click on the crop button, then I can reformat those pictures to make it just the way I want. You can also shrink it down if you want it to be smaller. So a great way to use those images here. A few other fun things that I have been doing. We have seen like the power of using different kinds of text fonts to add key messages. One thing that I've been doing a lot with are fake text messages. Kids and adults all like those. So for all of my letter of the day books, I'm giving a new name. So the iBooks person is Iggy. You can type in any kind of message you want and add emojis in there to just kind of add a fun morning message or midday message for our students. And that one is ifaketextmessages.com. That's also a great way for students to synthesize their learning, is to create a fake text message about a passage that they've read. So hours of fun with iFake text message. I also have been doing a lot with Emojipedia. The one thing I really love about Emojipedia is that it will allow you to pick, obviously, emojis. But the nice thing is it will import them. And let's just pick a heart here. It will import those images once I choose someone I want in the same size font as what I'm doing. So if I'm increasing and decreasing font size, the emojis are going to stay the same size the entire time. And I found that to be incredibly helpful when I'm trying to figure out, like, okay, what size do I want this to be today? So within here, if I decide I want to make a heart here, paste that in, and then if I decide, oh, 40 isn't right, I want to make it 72, my heart goes to that size too. So super fun with that feature. Is there anything else within the world? I know we've got a lot of experienced people here that can share out great ideas. Anything else that you really love to use? I tend to jump back and forth, if you can see up here at the top, between all of the picture sites myself. I don't tend to use these all with students because I found that Pexels, which is another free source, and sometimes Pixabay, which I also love, have images that I wouldn't want all my students to see. But if I'm searching for a quick image to share with students, I love to search through, and I use all three sites all the time. It really helps me kind of get some different images. A lot of times I'm finding in our classrooms when we're thinking about being a culturally responsive educator, our images are really white and our pictures are really white. So this allows me to find images from around the world, make sure I'm representing all students that learn across the state of Kentucky. So hours of fun. Sometimes a picture is the greatest way to start our writing. And so being able to pull in a really large image, start a lot of conversation, and then use some other tools to help with that text to speech or speech to text can make a huge difference. So anyone else have ideas or things that you definitely use? And I'll turn it back over to you, Lauren. Oh, I should say, last thing, in the reading and writing site, I've recorded videos that are tutorials of how I made every single book. So if you have colleagues that are new to generating books for your classroom, there's 4 total tutorials that will walk them through step by step and at a much slower pace how to use all of the different tools that I've used to make the books that are on that site.
Thank you so much, Laura. We appreciate, right now sharing live, but also all the resources you've provided for teachers to use later. Like you mentioned, I mean, it's important, to use those different platforms. I love how you brought in the culture and diversity and awareness, and also remembering that she's using Creative Commons sites, which is great, with our technology standards and being a good digital citizen, the specific standard talking about respecting the rights and obligations of using and sharing intellectual property. So that fits in right there as well. So we really appreciate your time, Laura. I don't see any questions there. So we'll go ahead and give Miss Amanda Ball all of her time there. So next, without further ado, we have Amanda Ball. She is from Jackson County, and she is a teacher and a digital learning coach, and she's going to be sharing Getting Choicey with It using Google Slides to make student choice boards for math. So go ahead and take it away, Amanda.
Thank you, Lauren. It's great to be here today. I just want to say, first off, before I get started, that I hope that this is the first of many Googlepaloozas, because it has been very eye-opening to some of the things that I can do with some of the Google tools that I hadn't even thought about. And I'm a Google trainer. So thank you all so much for presenting, and thank you for getting this together. I know you and Kelly and some others have worked really hard on this, and just thank you all so much. I'm going to go ahead and put my link to my presentation in the chat, and I will share my screen. So you should see that coming up soon.
Yes, we see it, Amanda.
Okay, great. So my jam is kind of taking presentations and I go a little crazy. So I kind of get down the rabbit hole of trying to make it all cute and fluffy. And so you'll see some of that in today's presentation as well. But one of the things that has been popular in the last couple of years, especially in education, is providing kids with student choice. I think it's become more popular now than ever before, just because of the ease of being able to do that with our digital tools. So I'm going to share with you today some of my own templates that I've created, and then I want to show you some amazing resources, some that have already been talked about today several times, for getting templates for slides, and how easy it can be in order to customize those Google choice boards. So we're going to go ahead and look at some different types of choice boards. And over on the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see my favorite template go-tos. Slides Go is the one that I have used most. I have used that in most of the templates that you'll see me share today. So if you want to visit that one and try it out, if you haven't already, it's a great one to use as well. You've also heard about Slides Mania and Slides Carnival throughout the day. Those are awesome choices to use for templates too. So I'm a big promoter of all three. The three types that we're going to talk about today are going to be limited choices choice boards, tic-tac-toe choice boards, and menu choice boards. I'm just going to pull up each one and kind of talk to you about it a little bit and just tell you how I have used those templates in order to create them to be my own, and thinking about the different types of choice boards, how you can use some of the benefits of each in order to customize those. So the first one I'm going to look at, and you have access to all of these, feel free to make copies of them. And I tried to fill some of them in just so you could see what it would look like in an actual class setting. And then I left, I think I left the tic-tac-toe choice board blank, just so that you see what that looks like right off the bat, and you can just add your own stuff into that as well. This angle galaxy, I'm going to pull that up first. And this is I cannot take any of the credit for all the beautiful graphics on here. That is all from Slides Go. I'm going to make it a little larger so you can see what that would look like on a full screen. This is a limited choice board. So you give the students a certain number of choices and you tell them how many to choose. For this one, I'm having in our last couple of years of teaching, or I say last couple of years, but year and a half basically, and maybe even to the start of this year, we have had to go all in with digital learning. Of course, there are still some benefits to using paper occasionally. So I think it's important to give students that choice. Some of them just do better with paper and pencil. So I am the biggest digital supporter you can find, but occasionally we throw down on paper in my math class. So I think it's important occasionally to give them that option. So you can see I have tried to link similar activities in all of the choices, but it kind of varies on what I think the students would like. This just gets them invested in their learning and gives them that extra additional engagement that they may need, especially if we're doing things in an all digital platform this year. It gives them a choice on how they're learning things. But there's some games that I've included that relate to the lesson. I've done, and in a minute, I'll show you some of my favorite tools to use for different things. But you can see basically all I did was add the table to the slide template, and then I just put in my own words, and that's all I had to do. I linked some of the programs that I'm using here, but very simple to use and get up and going. And once you make it once, you just fill in different links as you need them throughout the year. Okay, so we'll go to the next. Presentations I've done. This is the quadrilateral choice board. It's also a limited choice board where they have 3 choices. I ask them to choose one. And another great thing about using these over and over again, or in multiple years, is you get the ability to provide samples for them. So I took my first year, this was very basic, and then as I went on the next year, I was able to provide some student samples. So I've linked student samples there for them to look at, and you can look at those too if you want to get in there and dig in. And this just gives them 3 options. They choose one, and this is more like a summative assessment, a project-based learning, for them to show me what they know through one of these formats. The next limited choice board we're going to look at is one that I made using the Among Us theme. It's for fractions. Another, choose 1 or 2 of the following. I think I chose to choose 2 of these, and they just go through and complete the tasks. I tried to relate this. This one took me quite a while to make because I had to come up with the whole background and design myself. I didn't use a template. So it can be time consuming if you want to really get in there and customize things, but there are lots of options on Teachers Pay Teachers, and of course these templates that you can just get in there and run with it right on day one. So get in there and look around, and feel free, like I said, to copy any of these that you want to use. Now we're going to switch over to the tic-tac-toe version, and this is just you've saw these before, I'm pretty sure. You fill this up with choices that they can have, and this one I left blank just so that you can get in there and make it your own as you want to. I said these were for Math Classroom, but I tried to make them so that you can adjust them for your content area and use them as you wish. They would move these footballs over the squares as they complete the tasks, and on this one, I told them that the middle square they had to do. You don't have, that's just your choice whether you want to make them do that middle square or not, but that's a good way of putting in something that you're going to use maybe to take a grade on, or as a formative assessment that you want to look in one general area for their answers. An Ed puzzle would be great there. That way you can just go in Ed puzzle once and kind of grade things throughout as they turn those in. So that's a great way to do a must do. And they just make a tic-tac-toe, either up and down or diagonally. The last type of choice board I'm going to talk about are our menu choice boards. And I really had a lot of fun with these. This is Taco Tuesday, I called it. And I'm going to try to, let's see if I can make it a little bit harder. Yeah. They need to choose one from each category. And here I just put in some of my favorite tools for different things. So for this one, I just kind of made this first section a review, and I gave you some ideas from where you could make that review. And then for the tacos part, they're going to watch a video. And again, there's some other options for watching a video. Ed puzzle would be another one that I didn't put in here, but would be a great option there. Here they're going to practice, so they can do that through game-based learning, or they can, you can do, and all of these things can be adjusted to use on paper as well. You could do a worksheet there, or you could pull teacher made and put it here, however you want them to practice. And then finally, they're going to do a quiz, and there's lots of options, as you know, for creating quizzes. So that's one option for menu choice boards. And then the next one was smoothies. So here, I incorporated a little bit of math because they have to spend a certain amount. So I tried to strategically place things that were a little bit different in order for them to spend their $12, but they have $12 to spend, and they kind of get to choose that way. So I put some examples for you to use in here as well. And you can always change those links and make it your own. I think my time is basically up, but I do want to say, I want to put in a little pitch here for my Twitter. If you want to follow me on Twitter, it's Having a Ball in Fifth. And if you have any questions, you can always email me at my school email address, and there it is.
Thank you, Amanda. I love that you've shared specific examples in math. That's really helpful for us to see. But also, like you mentioned, your willingness to share these as templates. Natalie, Susan both said thank you. They love these. And if you don't mind, they'd love to maybe use them and share them with their teachers as well. So
yes, of course.
Thank you, Amanda. Without further ado, let's get to our final and last presenter, Miss Megan Markham. She comes to us from Bowling Green Independent Schools. She is a digital learning coach there, and she's going to talk to us a little bit about Google Classroom Makeover.
Hey, hi, everybody. It's good to be here. Thank you so much for putting this together. I'm a little nervous about going last after all of these amazing people. I feel like my ideas are relatively simple, and I really just want to make a smoothie now with some math. So I don't know. Maybe I'll just go quick so we can all go make smoothies. But yeah, I just had a couple of sort of makeover, simplification, better navigation ideas for your Google Classroom. I don't have a presentation or anything. I was just going to kind of show you some ideas actually in a Google Classroom. And if you have a Google Classroom, which I'm sure you do, you can kind of follow along. I know a lot of us are coaches or consultants or something part-time or full-time. So some of these ideas you might do, but it's good reminders for your teachers. So the first thing I always tell my teachers is to clean up their Google Classroom by going to settings. And Google Classroom has this, I think, kind of annoying habit of double posting anything that you post in classwork to your stream. And I think that can get really confusing for kids because it's not organized in the stream. So I always tell my teachers to come down here in the general settings, go to classwork on stream, and hide notifications. That keeps everything from double posting. So classwork stays in classwork, and stream is just for your announcements, just for things like, hey, don't forget there's a test tomorrow, or, you know, things like that. And that way kids aren't going to two different places and maybe getting lost. And you can train them to always go to Google Classwork, Google Classroom classwork to find their things, which gives you more organizational power. While they're in here, I find a lot of teachers have never been into their Google Classroom settings, and they have those kids that try to be funny and original on their stream, and they don't realize that they can actually limit what students can do on the stream, including making it so they can't post at all, or they can only comment, or that they can post and comment. So if you have those teachers who kind of have that kid who, you know, always thinks he's funny by being the first ever kid to post like poop in Google Classroom, you can have them avoid those things. So that's the first thing I have my teachers do, is just kind of clean that up so that it's easier navigation. This way the stream is only the stuff you want it to be. And then classwork is really your bread and butter for how you do that. So obviously we all know that it's best practice to organize by topics. It was a great addition when Google updated that. So, you know, during NTI, a lot of teachers put weeks here, like week 1, week 2, because kids couldn't keep up otherwise. In a more normal year, maybe in the future, they can do it by unit. And so this might be, you know, Civil War and Reconstruction and things like that, and then they can post underneath it. But one thing that I do, and it's a really very simple idea, is use emojis in Google Classroom as much as possible, just to make it brighten it up a little bit, but also make it easier to navigate. And I think a lot of teachers of littles avoid using Google Classroom, like K1. They're a little afraid because it does look so text-based. But I think this could really be the difference maker in using Google Classroom with littles. So instead of putting a whole bunch of text here and a whole bunch of text here, I can tell the students, I can put an emoji here, and I can tell the students, okay, go to the newspaper, now go to this other emoji. And people have shared great emoji sites. I've got an extension up here called Joy Pixels. That's a good one that lets you pop right in from an extension. There's another site I use called Get Emoji. But all you do is copy and then paste it in as text. So instead of putting newsletters first, you just paste in the emoji and then type in newsletters. And so that can just help your students with navigation. And it also kind of makes your Google Classroom look a little bit nicer. You know, it's a little bit more inviting, and you can put those at the beginning of any assignment. You can put those in directions for an assignment. Before Google Classroom gave us bullets, which is a great update, I used to use emojis as bullets. And so you could even make a legend with those, like, okay, if it's got a pencil, it means you have to do that work. If it's got a video, it means it's something that you should watch. And that way students can kind of visually get into habits, good habits with your Google Classroom. So just a tiny little idea, tiny little tweak. The last thing I kind of want to talk about is some things that you can do with other tools in Google Classroom. And I think the best idea I've seen, and I can't take credit for it, I saw a teacher do it, is to have open office hours through Google Classroom. So using a tool like Flipgrid, which I highly recommend because it's free and it does so many amazing things, you can make a topic in Flipgrid and just call it open office hours. And then students are welcome to post questions they have. Even parents can post questions that they have, and they can explain what they're having trouble with. I'm sure you've had email back and forth, text back and forth, where you're not really understanding what the problem is, but you don't have time to get on the phone at the same time with that parent or with that student. Well, this way they can record a video of themselves saying, hey, I couldn't find this assignment. I tried this, I tried that, and nothing would work. Can you help me out? And then you can check it as often as you want, maybe once a day, maybe once every couple days, to keep yourself with boundaries. And then you can respond. And they can view that response anywhere, you know, and they can rewatch that response, and they can access that even as a parent. So by posting it in Google Classroom and kind of pinning it to the top, and if you don't really know how to pin something to the top of your Google Classroom, all you really have to do is not put it under a topic, and it'll default to go to the top. So you could pin your Flipgrid office hours up there. The other really cool thing about Flipgrid is it does have closed captioning and immersive reader built in, and that means it has translation built in. So imagine the power of a student who is not a native English speaker to be able to record a question for you in their home language, or a parent to be able to record a question for you in their home language, And then you can use the closed captioning and immersive reader translation to get it in English. It makes them much more comfortable asking questions. They can articulate themselves better in their home language. And then you can record your response, and they can also have that same option to use the closed captions and the immersive reader. So when setting that up in Flipgrid, you might want to make it a moderated topic so that kids can't see each other's questions if that makes them more comfortable. And then just make sure that you've clicked on that closed captions are allowed, which I think is by default in the settings, but you might want to check it in topic before you post it. So that's a great way to have open office hours within Google Classroom. Other than that, other tips for Google Classroom is to just make it your absolute one-stop, 100% hub of things. Kids need one place to go. And so if you have videos for them to watch, if you have links for them to use, put those on there in Google Classroom so they have one place to go. Another little tip is you can also include and kind of pin them to the top or make a topic that's at the top of how-to videos for your Google Classroom. And for anything in your classroom, really, make little how-to videos, screencasts with the built-in Chromebook tool or Flipgrid shorts or anything like that. And just, how to turn in an assignment, how to use Kami with Google Classroom, how to access a PDF, how to do this, how to do that. And that way it's always there for them. And then they can also show their parents so that they, get some of those questions answered. So yeah, I think that's about all I've got. Thank you so much again for putting this together, and it was awesome to learn from everybody else. So I hope this isn't the last one.
Thank you so much, Megan. I think we've had a positive feedback here so far, so hopefully we can continue these. And like I said, thank you for sharing, whether you are a newbie to Google Classroom and this is new learning for the tips and tricks she shared, or just those great reminders, because we just kind of forget to help make our lives more efficient. Also more organized for students and for access. So thank you again, Megan. We are at the end of our closing of our show. So just a reminder, if you have not before, please visit our Google site. Thank you for letting me know I was muted, Natalie. I shared a lot. I talked about so many great things that Megan shared, and that hopefully we continue the feedback. But really what I want to say is, thank you to our presenters, and thank you for you all for joining us this morning. We hope that you were able to take away many tips and tricks from all of our presenters, and that you can now integrate those into your school year. Although most of us, you are watching live, don't forget the recording of this will also be uploaded to our YouTube channel soon. Be sure to stay connected with us. Share with us on social media how we're using those Google Workspace tools. We have a Facebook group that you can join at GEG Kentucky, or by tagging us on Twitter at GEG Kentucky as well. Please be on the lookout. Our next event will actually be in September. And so we're going to start planning that here very soon. Also, like I said, a huge, huge thank you to our presenters this morning. We truly appreciate their time, and not just this morning, but I know they took time to create those presentations to share with us. Have a great afternoon, and we hope to connect with you all soon. Bye, everyone.